You don't need a $1,000 chair. What you need is lumbar support done right. And here are 3 options from free to heated. Reach! Hey, I'm Dr. RJ Burr at Reach, and I'm going to show you a quick ergonomic setup I teach my patients, and as well as how to set up proper lumbar support using 3 options, which we've got the no cost, the low cost, and the very affordable, but a little bit fancier. And this is all without needing an expensive $1,000 plus chair. Come on over and step into my office where I'll show you a proper setup. So with workplace ergonomics, we want some, I'll call it the 80-20 setup. 80% of it is your ergonomic setup, and then 20% of it, the last bit, is maintaining it with lumbar support. So everybody's a little bit different, so there's some, a little bit of play involved here. But just in general, we want some specific principles in play when it comes to ergonomic setup. One is, with your chair, first and foremost, you want to be able to put your feet flat. You need a back support. If you don't have a backrest, that's not a proper desk chair in the first place. Arms are relatively optional. We want our feet flat, knees bent. You don't want your knees too high, like above your belly button level, because when that happens, it tends to round your posture forward. From here, the next step is where are your arms and your shoulders and your eyes. You want your arms basically just draping down and elbows bent at a 90-degree angle. You don't want to be reaching at your workplace because that's going to throw you off. So if I take this, we have a standing or a topper here. This desk can go up and down for standing, which is obviously a great ergonomic setup because when you can change sit to stand every hour, it's a pretty awesome tip. And that's a great way to add more movement in your day. But when you're sitting, we can take the keyboard and the mouse and bring it down here. If I have it this level, you'll see that my arm, my elbow angle is relatively at a 90-degree position, and then I can move my hands forward so my wrists are resting on the keyboard here. And in this position, I'm still keeping my posture upright. My eyes are looking at the screen about a 90-degree angle. This computer monitor is out to the side for our office, but typically if you're working on it all day and not moving too much, we want that right in front of us. So that's ideal position, but then how do we maintain that? Because the problem is, if you're working like this, okay, not great. But when you're in a proper ergonomic position, you'll typically be in a better position until you start getting into you're working, you're not thinking about your breathing, you're not thinking about your posture, you're not thinking about your heart rate, right? It's automatic. When it starts getting automatic, we start falling into these slouchy positions, changing it up a little bit, kind of looking forward and doing this. And that's gonna happen. But to really maintain proper support and not just slouch in your chair, you really need lumbar support. That's the extra 20% that's really important. And the first part of that, how to simply give yourself lumbar support if you don't have proper lumbar support on your chair, which this has a little bit, but usually most chairs need a little bit extra, and sometimes I find even the fancy $1,000 chairs don't have them. So lumbar support, first thing you use is a DIY towel. If you take a simple bath towel, you fold it in half long ways, and then you roll the sucker up. And you want to take it to the next level, you can wrap duct tape around it or a rubber band. I've had patients do that. But basically, it creates a roll about this big, which is a similar size to a lumbar roll, which hint, is that's the next one, is this then goes behind your back because your low back has a natural curve to it, especially when we stand, but when we sit, that S-shaped posture that we have tends to turn to a C posture. S is for safety, C is for catastrophe over time. We don't want to do that for 8 hours a day. So this rolled up towel goes right in the small of the back. You scoot your butt all the way back in the chair. It's really important. And then make sure your feet are flat. Adjust the chair up or down to make sure that your thighs are comfortably resting on the chair, and then the upper back should rest against the backrest. Now, if this is too much, this feels like you gotta stick up your arse, right? Then we can back off a little bit. So what I like to do is tell people is we don't necessarily wanna be at 100% arch. We don't wanna be at 0% slouch, right? We want somewhere in between. So if you place this here, scoot your butt back, sit up nice and tall, lean back, get yourself at about 100%. If that feels too much, which it should, then we're gonna back off just a little bit. So slide your butt forward like this, And now when I do that and rest my upper back on the chair, now I'm in a comfortable position. So usually somewhere between that like 80 to 50% position is ideal, but find the most comfortable where you're still upright. Now I can go up into my desk and my setup, and I can properly use my computer with proper lumbar support, so that way I can sustain longer, right? So the next one, if that works for you and you don't want to feel weird walking around the office with a roll up towel, the next step would be using a McKenzie lumbar roll. We love these. These are like our #1 thing we sell because they're super efficient, effective, and they're inexpensive. I'll have a link for this too, and they're like 25, 30 bucks. And the thing is, it's basically a rolled up towel, but it's foam cushion, but it has a strap on it, so it stays in place. Towel doesn't, unless you can MacGyver it somehow. But this is great because it straps around your back of your chair, and now it's already in place, as you can see here. So I can simply just move the sucker up and down like this, place it in position, and then it compresses a little bit better too. It's a little more comfortable in the towel and does the same thing, but now we have a device specifically for it that is relatively cheap. Now the third option is this device here. It's called the CabSupport M4 lumbar seat, right? If you look at it, it's a lumbar shaped seat that provides you lumbar support plus a little bit of extras. And so this one's nice because it has some extra features and ways you can use it, and it's not super expensive either. I think it's made around 80 to 100 bucks, which is a hell of a lot cheaper than a $1,000 X chair or something of that sort. So first I'll show you what this thing looks like here. As you can see, is from the side, it has cushions here for the seated part, and then it has your lumbar support here. If you look at it, it's got some cushion into it on the back and for the butt area. And then right here, if I turn it on, you're gonna see that it has, right, some infrared light, really provides heat, which is quite nice. And then the thing also, if I press it back here, I got some buttons for it. It vibrates as well. But before I get into the heat and the vibration, which are kind of accessory pieces to it, let's see how it performs. So we're gonna place this here. It simply just goes onto your chair. And then now, as you can see, it's an added piece to the chair. And when I sit on it here, same thing, I'm gonna scoop my butt all the way back. And when I rest on this, I don't really have to worry about the backrest very much because this lumbar support works as a backrest, and it helps keep you upright without needing the back of the chair. But the back of the chair does provide support for the lumbar seat. Now Cab Vibe sent this to me looking for some expert feedback, so I did spend quite a bit of time using this. And what I found is, like a lumbar roll or rolled up towel, it provides really good lumbar support. So you have the lumbar support like a towel. It's like the McKenzie lumbar roll where it stays in place, but it has the added cushions on it and that rigid support where it really feels like it cradles you or holds you in the right position. And this device is less dependent on the chair than the other devices, where the McKenzie lumbar roll and the towel are gonna be dependent on how the backrest is set up. Because if you have a backrest that has a hole in it or something else, that can manipulate the device. With this, it just sits into place, it's rigid, it will hold you, and it works just about anywhere. And that's one of my favorite, maybe not really features, but what I found with this that can be used in many different ways, not only in your chair, but I found myself taking it on the couch, where typically on the couch, I would sit with just a cushion behind my back or a couple pillows. Couches are notorious for being in poor postures, and this actually really helps you keep in an ideal position and posture if you do feel like working on your laptop or reading a book or something else while on the couch. I also recommend my patients quite a bit that your best posture is your next posture, meaning that moving is very important, right? That's why standing desks or convertible desks have become so popular, is because it makes you change position, which you give more movement throughout the day, right? So the more movement, the better. What's great about this lumbar seat, where I can change up positions. I can go from seated, I can go to lying down, I can go to standing. I can then take this seat on the ground and actually chill on my butt, on my back, in like a recumbent seated position on the ground, use my laptop that way. So unexpectedly, the lumbar seat gives you more variety for different postures to assume throughout the day. The lumbar seat also has the added value in the backside where they have controls here where it gives you heat and vibration massage. Now, at first I'm like, okay, these are just kind of like sprinkles on a cake, which sprinkles are nice, but not absolutely needed. But I did find the infrared heat on here is super nice, where if your back is just like, not even if it's tight or sore to relieve back pain, it's really just kind of nice. You know, when you're sitting down, just having that warm feeling there, it feels really comfortable. It's a nice little like added benefit that I wouldn't use all the time, but it's kind of a nice feature that I found myself using more than I thought. Now on the massage side, I wasn't the biggest fan at first because I felt like it was just like some random vibration. Now the controls are a little clunky at first because if you're sitting at your desk, they're on the back side here, and then you'll feel a vibration, but you're not really sure what's what. So you kind of have to like stand up and look here and see which of the 3 lights for each one is on to know which setting it is. But once you get past that, it's relatively easy to press the buttons back here. Once I kind of figured out the controls, then I played around with some of the massage functions, and I kind of found that, I looked at the instructions, that there were different patterns of vibratory massage, which at first I'm kind of like, this is just vibration. It's like, you know, putting a quarter in one of those old beds back in the 70s that vibrate, where it's kind of like, I don't know about this. But I did find myself after a while kind of liking it. But I also found out I wanted just one consistent one where I felt like it would be kind of like white noise. That consistent vibration would be kind of calm and soothing, especially with the heat, and I think that's something they could add in a following version. And at such an affordable price and the versatility of this device, I think it's awesome. The only downfall, it's a very minor one, is that if you have that one vibration setting. And then I'm not sure about colors yet, but they sent me obviously this color. I don't love it on a desk chair, especially like when you're in an aesthetic where things are mostly black and white and gray. It's not my most favorite, but I know that some previous iterations they had different colors, so I would probably pick a gray, black, or white before I did this sort of cream color. So there you have it. Went over that you don't need an expensive $1,000 chair. You just need some lumbar support and proper ergonomics. We went through the 1, 2, 3 options that we have for lumbar support. We went over your best postures, your next posture, meaning move more often. And then one more tip is to take micro breaks. Outside of just moving and changing position, you can actually be between Zoom meetings, whatever you're doing for work, and take little micro breaks for some movement of your spine. There's 2 specific moves that seem to help the best. That's quick and easy. You don't even have to get up out of your chair. And one is to do some chin tucks or chin nods. Right, when we're sitting here, very simply sit up nice and tall with your lumbar support and pack your chin in. Pressure on, pressure off. And you can use your fingertips or the webbing between your thumb and index finger for extra pressure. By doing 10 or so of these every couple hours, it makes sure that a lot of these sustained positions that can build up tension is relieved by pushing it this way, because we tend to fall into these forward positions, right? So pushing the opposite direction takes it off. Just like if I take my finger, if I pull it forward just enough, I start to feel, ow, tension. How do I take away that tension? I move it back in the opposite direction. So we're doing the same thing with the spine here. We can do the same thing with the low back. Right? Without lumbar support, we tend to fall into these slouchy positions. That's that forward tension. So how do we relieve that? We can do some arches in the opposite position like this, where you arch your back. Just make sure if you're in a workplace setting, you're not being too aggressive with this, twerking in your seat, making your other coworkers uncomfortable. And then to get some mid-back extension or arching, so we had chin tuck, we had arch in the low back. Now how do you get that in the mid-back? I like to do the Superman stretch. So you pull your chest open and forward, and like your heart is coming out of your chest, and now you can get some good mobility in your mid-back. So now you have neck, mid-back, and then the low back, and you can quite honestly do it all at the same time here. And so a little bit goes a long way to help you keep the tension away at the workplace.